welcome back. It's episode 6. We've had a lot of progress. As you can see, we have power turned to the machine. Everything is still not complete, but I'm using having the ability to have power in order to start testing some functions and go do that. So later on in the video, we will cover some of the setups, etc. in Mach 3. But at this time, I'll kind of go over and give you a little recap of what we have done. In the beginning, I went ahead and put the piggyback board on the brushless motor controller. This basically takes the inputs from the Hall effect sensors on the actual spindle motor, and it also takes the forward and reverse signal coming from the C82, the ESS smooth stepper, and it also takes the 0 to 10 volts in order to control the speed on the spindle motor. Those are done in here. The forward and reverse is controlled by a relay. Basically, it takes the common signal off of here, goes to the common portion on the relay, and then the relay triggers to the normally closed or the normally open position, and then it comes back and feeds it into another pin in here, and that's what signals the controller to switch directions. When this relay is in its normal state of normally open, that's telling it to be in the forward state. So anyways, that's wired up, and I just use the Ethernet strands to produce my signal lines, so you don't need a really heavy duty wire. I wanted to touch base on the M26. In the, I believe it was the previous video, I talked about, or I had a little blip in the video where it said I didn't need the 5 volts anymore. Well, I had to work with Arturo over at CNC4PC because it still wasn't getting function out of the M26. And that was simply because I had removed the jumper on here in order to get the power LED to come on. And the problem with the 5 volts, it still didn't matter. It didn't have any function at all. So, because it required that jumper to be back on. And what it was on the Warp 9 Ethernet smooth stepper, the power jumper that feeds power into this ribbon cable that comes back to here was in the off position. So it just needed the jumper placed, and then that applied power. So and then that would give me my 5 volts at the terminal here. So I did not need the 5 volt input to this M26. All the other connections are in. You can see I got one of the covers off, and you can see quite well how easily that fills up. Those Ethernet cables coming from the motor drivers really fills up the space in your wire management system. One of the big things I've had problems with EMI. There's a lot of 120 volt operated functions in this machine, and I believe the EMI is being generated from the 120 volt systems because they make a lot more noise. On the PC, when I had the PC in here, I've since moved it into the console to try to remove it out of the space with all the 120 volt activity that's going on. What would happen is when I activate any of the relays that would turn on the solenoids, it would put the computer to sleep. I didn't have an EMI filter at the time on here, but I wanted to get it out of the box here, and plus it's so small and I had room in the console, and we'll go over that later. So I removed it out of here, and that helped a little bit. It was, when I would activate the solenoids, it was like every other time or every couple times it would trigger the computer to go to sleep. So all I'd have to do is hit the power button again on the computer, and it would bring it back up to where it was at in Mach. And then I purchased a EMI filter, put that on there, and that helped with all the solenoids. I don't get it at all when I do activate the solenoids anymore, but what I do get is I still get the EMI when I turn the coolant pump on, which is 120 volts. I've since ordered some RF chokes. I'm going to apply some chokes into the system, and hopefully that'll get rid of the EMI problem altogether. I've also ordered some new solenoid coils that are 24 volt. I'm gonna try and swap those out and see if they'll work. I'm hoping they will. The part number seems to be the same other than the final dash number, but they looked identical. They should be able to function, these solenoids. If they do, then I'm going to convert this from 120 to 24 volt DC to reduce the 120 volt activity in there. This power supply should have more than enough reserve power to activate those solenoids. I have also, from the console, I wired in the power drawbar, which comes into the M26 as one of the input pins, and then it uses OEM triggers in the Mach 3 software in order to activate the drawbar manually to turn that solenoid on. Let's see, I have the 24 volt motors power supply in place. As you can see, it mounts and covers up the wire management system on there, and I've added a emergency stop. That one is a Mach 3 emergency stop. I'm actually considering changing it to the 120 volt emergency stop. I'm on the fence with it because I'm worried that my head's going to bop into it and turn the thing off in the middle of running or something. So I'm not really sure yet if that's what I want to do, but right now it is set up to turn the Mach system off. I have a stack light coming. Some people have no use for a stack light, but I have a pretty good sized shop. When I'm working in the shop while the machine would be doing its own thing, I'd be able to just look at the stoplight and see the status of the machine, basically. So what we're gonna do is I'll stop the video here. I'll bring you around to the console and show you what the console is looking like so far, and we can do a little bit of work with the ATC and show you those functions. So anyways, I'll stop the video and we'll come right back. Hey everybody, welcome to the front of the machine this time. Kind of give you a little overview of what we have. This is the front side of the machine. I have the ATC tool posts all mounted on here. I had to 3D print some new TTS holders. So those are done, and I've went through and set it up. You can see this is the power drawbar, this spindle. I had to do some modifications to the Tormach collet. This machine is pre-TTS, so I had to actually shorten both ends of the collet in order to be able to clamp the tools correctly into the actual spindle, and then go through a setup procedure to get that to function correctly. So anyways, we'll touch base with that in a minute. This is my console in the making. As you can see, I have the Mach 3 system brought up. This is the AC on and off. There's a little flapper that can be taken off. It goes on here like so. I may or may not put that back on there. I'm not sure yet. And then I have an emergency disconnect for the Mach 3 version, or it kills the motors, power supply, and everything like that for Mach 3's functionality. We can go back to the main screen here. I've already referenced the X, Y, and Z axis. You want to do that prior to doing anything to the machine, so that way you make sure you have the home functions all set up and the actual DROs are reading 0 at that point. I'm not going to go into too much detail. We'll cover those in later videos, but I would show you that I have had to work with Sam over at CNC4XR7. He wrote me a custom macro for this machine. He said this machine started with nothing other than bones, and we had to build it to what it is at this point. So thanks to Sam over there for doing this code up for me. We got it all functioning, so we can go back to the ATC. And you can see I have two buttons here. One is the PC power, which I may later on add an LED above it, just so I can know that the PC is being powered on or has been activated. That's the main function. Once it's up, you already know it's running because you have the monitor. The next button to it is the Power drawbar, I have it set as a click and lock style. So when you push the button, it activates the power drawbar. And then as you can see, the collet has dropped down to allow the insertion of a tool. And then you can hit the screen there, or excuse me, not the screen, but the button. And then it actually triggers and pulls the power drawbar back in. So I have it set with tool 0 in there, so there's no tool. I have figured out that I need to get some sort of flow valves to hook on the 1/8 inch lines, because when the thing moves up and down, it moves quickly, so it causes the bits to jump. And the bigger ones won't come out, but this one won't. So it doesn't come out, but it does jump up and rattle around. So I had to play around with a couple of different prints in order to make these function. But we'll do a quick test with it so you can see it. So we'll go ahead and select tool 1. The machine automatically will start moving. See the jump that it did? So it means it's just moving a little too fast. So I need to slow it down a little bit. So what it does, it comes in and it slides out. So it can clear the pop-ups on the ATC and then moves to a clearance height position, drops that, moves back to the last known position. So voila, there's tool 1. We can go to tool 2. So it raises the pop-up, and then it'll go back down in position. Go to set the tool back in the fork. Once it sets the tool in the fork, drops it out, the drawbar, it rises above it, it drops down, next tool pops up, goes in position, pulls that one in, voila. So that's how it works through all the tools that's on the machine. You can also do a M6 T whatever. So like say you only, tools 1 through 4 in here and you need a tool 5. You can do and you prompt it in the software, or you can do it on the MDI of the Mach 3. Just say you need tool 5. It'll put this tool up, and then it'll come back out and prompt you to manually install the tool 5, which is a really nice feature. He has on there, you can adjust the feed rate on how fast it does the tool change and any delays that's required in order to make functions work a little bit better. So once I get the air system on here, I may play with the delays a little bit. And so that way these can raise up slowly without jarring it out. They won't fall out this way. They click lock, but they bounce, as you can see. And so you can't make the tools. The first ones I made it where it held the tool really tight. So when it would pop up, the tool would lock up like this. It would lock high. And then when it come down, it would slap it down. So I had to make it loose so that it would readjust itself with going up and down. So anyways, this is where we're at. I still, like I said, I have more functions to add on here. When we get through, you can see there's some wires hanging out. These are my signal wires for whatever switches I'm going to install. I have a USB port that's been set in here. Like I said, the little computer's mounted in here. And this is a 13-inch monitor. The link is in the description below. Actually, on-off switch, I believe, might be in there. But the rest of the stuff is common items you can find on eBay or Amazon. Discontinue this one. We'll move on to the next episode when we get a little bit farther into this, for as far as once I get the RF chokes installed on here, and get a few other items, maybe another switch. I'm going to have the switch for the blowdown. I have a 24-volt relay that I had ordered because there's only 5 relays that comes with the OEM system. So I needed not relays, but solenoids. I needed another solenoid for the tool blowdown. So when, as you can see, when this thing gets to machining, it's going to throw chips all over this thing. And I needed a blowdown to make sure that these are clear when it goes to set them into the machine. So I ordered another solenoid, and I'll have to wire in a manual blowdown on here, and it'll also be part of the macro that's in the Mach 3. So anyways, that's it. Please like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.